as you know, we have been interviewing veterans from the steel and metals industry to know the exact situation of the industry post-COVID. Today we have with us uh, yet another veteran from steel and metals industry, in fact refractory industry, Dr. A K Chattopadhyay. Hello Mr. Chattopadhyay, and
Yeah,
welcome to this conversation.
good evening, good evening. Fine. Thank you very much for calling me.
Yeah, thanks Mr. Chattopadhyay. And Dr. Chattopadhyay has been the managing director of TRL Krosaki Refractories Limited. Then he is chairman of Heatworks Dolong of Malaysia. He has been technical consultant to National Refractories, and he is now the sectional committee member of Bureau of Indian Standards and representative of Ministry of Steel. So, and he has spent almost 40 years in steel and refractory industries. And I would like to welcome Mr. Dr. Chattopadhyay to this conversation. Thanks,
Thank you
Doctor.
very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Doctor, for sparing your valuable time. And I'm sure we will have a very interesting conversation with Dr. Chattopadhyay. Dr. Saab, I would like to ask you the first question. What is the present situation of refractory industries, especially post-COVID? Now that we are 4 months down the line, what is the present situation?
Okay, first of all, let me thank you for calling me to share some of my thoughts this afternoon, rather this evening. One thing I must say, Mr. Chandekar, that my tenure is not 40 years, it is now 46 years.
Oh, that's
Okay.
really great. That's really great.
Now, so I spend most of the time in different companies as heading those units. Like I was the head of Dalmia Refractories at one point of time in 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course I headed ACC Refractories, which is presently Caldis India. I was the CEO of that company.
Okay.
Then of course with TRL Tata Refractories Limited, that time my name was Tata Refractories Limited. But of course with the Japanese, the joint venture was made in my time only, TRL Krosaki, where I was the managing director for almost, I spent 14 years in that company. Then I have now joined few companies and I'm doing some consultancy also in the refractories field. In fact, one of the thing is that, you know, it is our responsibility now to bring young minds to this industry. Why we will be still required in this industry? It is because of that new minds are not coming. Because there is an image of the refractory industry which we should change. The polluting, dirty, messy, this type of image. And we must make it to a clean, green, and very challenging technologies. Because after all, you cannot produce 1 ton of steel without a refractory. And
Absolutely.
you cannot produce 1 ton of cement without a refractory.
Absolutely.
Any high temperature process you call, fertilizers, petrochemicals, hydrocarbons, anywhere, any high temperature process will be requiring refractory because their vessels have to be lined with the refractory material, which has to withstand high temperature, high pressure, sometimes high abrasion, high corrosion, all these factors. Now, coming back to your...
Yeah, in fact, this problem is faced by steel and metals industry also. Of a lot of young minds, young metallurgists, they leave the metallurgical field because they think it is very dirty business. So
Yeah. No,
we
this
are,
is a problem, but I think we need to find out a solution to,
yeah,
instead of, I remember a small story when I used to like Hindi songs, then that of Rabindra Sangeet. My father and my one of relative had a fight with them. My father was in my favor that look, if I am not able to make Rabindra Sangeet very attractive to the young mind, then they will go to listen to Rabindra Sangeet. So that's why it is our responsibility to make refractory industry or metallurgy, metal industry a very challenging and accepting. Because as a career, we took up, but then 46 years have gone. Why the image we could not change? That is the point. Now, coming back to your specific question, you were asking that post-COVID, what is the situation in the refractory industry?
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you that refractory industry have started producing almost all the plants, to the best of my knowledge, is producing to the tune of 50-60%. Some of the plants have got even bigger orders, like the plant where I am associated are now having enough orders, and we are really trying to get things going. And as you know, the steel industry is the major consumer of refractory. A major means almost 75 to 80% goes in steel. So that is where now some of the things government have taken up, like they have issued lot of benefits to the MSME industries. Lot of infrastructure is again started going into the mainstream. Like many plants, integrated steel plants have been advised to run full capacity, though it has not yet started because of several factors. But so obviously the refractory industry is also going to get. And as once again I mentioned that we have to produce more steel, we have to consume more refractories, because there is no second thought or there is no second way of going back. We have our per capita consumption is still today 70 kilogram, which at least if you go to 125 kilogram, I'm not talking of the world average of 250 kilogram, then also we require almost 230, 220 million ton of steel. Today we produce only 107, 108 crude steel I'm talking of.
Yeah.
So the refractory will be required, and that's why I look at refractory's future is very, very bright in the days to come, because it is associated with the steel industry, and since steel has to grow, refractory will have to grow.
Yeah, yes, sir. As you said, sir, the refractory industry is producing to the tune of 50 to 60%. Same is the case with the steel industry. Steel industry, a lot of plants are working, and they are also producing to the tune of 50 to 60% now. So, how do you see the future of steel industry as well as refractory industry for next few months?
No, steel industry, as I told you, that there is a, if you look back, national steel policy of 2017 that clearly told that we have to produce 300 million ton of steel. But this presently, and with the present situation, it looks a little bit over optimistic. So even if we go to 225, 230 million ton by 2030, then also we are almost doubling the capacity of steel. Now, if we double the capacity of steel, I won't say that the refractory also will be double. Refractory cannot be just double that, because people are consuming less and less refractory. That's a big challenge to the refractory industry. That because refractory is after all a non-metallic inclusion, and no one would like to have more refractory in their steel, because as the refractory goes into the steel melt, it makes the steel unclean. So if we are producing cleaner steel, you require less refractory. So that will be a continuous challenge between the steel and the refractory. Steel people will have to use refractory, but at the same time they don't like refractory because this is a impurity to them.
Yeah.
And we also will have to see that how we can give a better quality of refractory, not that better quantity, bigger quantity of refractory.
Yeah.
So, and in many areas things are coming up. The last 30 years back, the consumption was almost 40 kilogram per ton of steel production, refractory. But today it is only 10 kilogram, and it will further come down. There are many areas where refractory they have been able to eliminate the usage of refractory.
Okay.
So obviously, but still, as you rightly pointed out, that steel consumption will be almost doubling. The refractory consumption will also, if not double, from the present level of 1.2 million ton, it will definitely go to 2 million ton at least.
Okay.
So there lies the refractory industry's future.
Yeah.
But of course, one thing is there, Mr. Chandekar, that this refractory will not 100% be produced in India unless and otherwise we take very corrective steps at this stage. Like, our R&D in refractory industry is very, very low, which has to go up. we need to adapt more usage of monolithics, because the monolithics is the future. And for that, again, there is a refractory application job is required. And if the application is better, then only will be use more monolithics. Today, Japan uses 60% of the monolithics, 40% only bricks.
Okay.
We are only at 28%, 72% still brick.
Okay.
But some countries like Germany, Europe, they use 40% monolithics. So at least I think and I feel that tomorrow the situation will come that we will also go to 28% of monolithic to 40% monolithic consumption. So that will be the future. So that's why it's a big volume growth for the monolithic industry also, monolithic refractories also.
Okay. Sir, I was asking you how do you see next few months for steel industry as well as for refractory industry? Do you think we will be
No,
completely out of it by end of this year or out of COVID? I mean, by end of this year?
no. I definitely hope so, because there are many experts who have commented before me regarding steel that by the end of the year we will definitely come up to a level field where we were pre-COVID.
Okay.
And then for India, we have to look up. We have to produce more steel. We have to consume more refractories.
Yes, yes, yes. Sir, one more question specifically for refractory industry. That many of the raw materials for refractories are coming from China. And now with the present situation, present political situation, India is discouraging, or rather, it is difficult to import these raw materials from China. So, how do you see what is the solution, sir? How do you see this situation?
No. I don't have immediately a solution. Frankly speaking, let me go back to a little bit history. There are some bulk raw materials like magnesite, bauxite, silicon carbide. These bulk raw materials are required by the industry, and today almost I would say 75 to 80% comes from China.
Okay.
And this comes because for the quality, and we will have to depend on the raw material. In fact, India was importing macarbon bricks to the tune of 2 lakh ton up till yesterday. But that now government is putting restriction, and that's good for this country that we should produce here only. But once again, let me tell you that overnight we cannot be raw material producers in this country, because our bauxite, our magnesite are having a lot of impurities, and those impurities require beneficiation. And honestly speaking, last few years, I am shouting from the rooftop that, we must beneficiate our own bauxite. Our bauxite contains lime. Our bauxite contains high amount of Fe2O3. And that has to be removed. And these are possible, not that it is not possible. In fact, here I have a really very sad thing to say that our research institute, our academic institute, industry, they have not put their efforts jointly. Had they put their effort, then by now would have find out a solution. Now that there is a requirement that we have seen, necessity is the mother of invention. Like, as you say, the wise people, that what will happen that with the Prime Minister's call of Atmanirbhar Bharat, we will have to produce our own raw material. And for that, our R&D has to gear up. Our research institute has to gear up their activity. We have magnesite, plenty of magnesite available in Almora, in many other. But then those magnesites has got certain impure oxides. Those oxides need to be suppressed. And that is through some process. Now, till then, the solution is that maybe we will have to import raw material from China, at least raw material. If we import raw material, then we produce the refractories in this country, whether macarbon, whether it's good quality of high alumina products, or other alternatives is that you can bring from Europe, but that will be too costly a situation. So it is to be seen that whether steel plants are able to take that burden of cost or not. If the steel plants become ready, then there are plenty of magnesite available in Australia. Magnesite is available in your Turkey, Ukraine, and bauxite is also available in Guyana and many other countries. So we can import them, but those are at a much higher cost. And obviously, if the raw material comes costlier, then the finished products will also become costlier.
I
And
know.
that is how the whole situation will. But there are no dearth of raw material in the world. So we will bring the raw material and we'll make bricks or castables or gunning masses, ramming masses in our country.
Yeah, actually, sir, the
And
similar situation is there in coal industry. As you know,
yeah,
we have very vast reserves of coal, but they contain very high ash content. So they have to be washed. They have to be,
exactly.
in a way, they have to be beneficiated. And so, in spite of having huge reserves of coal in our own country, we are
Yeah,
importing coal from other
yes.
countries. So similar
No, no,
situation is
this
there
is
in
this
refractory.
is the irony. No one put their thoughts that how can we make. Now that is one way. It is an opportunity for us to. It's a wake up call. What the
Yes.
Prime Minister is telling to become Atmanirbhar, it is very much required. Otherwise, look at all the industries. Forget about refractory and steel and related pharmaceutics, electronics, all are dependent on China today. So we have to make ourselves. But then it cannot become overnight. If you last 40 years, whatever may be the border conflict with China, but I have to say, because I have also spent so many years in China and made a greenfield project also with my earlier assignment on behalf of Tatas.
Yeah.
I made a greenfield project and I have seen that what kind of facilities they provided when we went as an investor. So I think in India also we have to create similar situation. And I think the present situation is almost conducive to that. That you have to bring people, understand technology from them, adapt them, and make it like your own country's product. And that's the how we should go ahead in the race for all the industries.
Yeah, yeah. But as you said, it will take some time.
Yeah,
So,
it will take obviously some time because
yes, yes.
China has worked very hard last 40 years. Apart from their aggression for grabbing lands or whatever the conflicts are there, I don't want to go into political side, but I can say that 40 years they have worked very hard, and that is how they have come to this stage. I used to go to China in 90s, and I can tell you, I remember one of the fishing village. It was just a small fishing village in Baichuan. From Dalian, it was 180 kilometers in Baichuan, which is called the magnesite district of the world.
Hmm.
Baichuan, there are huge. You just dig out any hillock, you will get magnesite and high quality magnesite. Now, that kind of magnesite was available. Now, that fishing village in 90s, today, after almost maybe 30 years, it
Hmm.
has become such a bustling town that it has got 4 7-star hotels,
Hmm.
few 5-star hotels. So
I know.
this is the situation. They have changed.
Yeah, obviously they have done lot of hard work that
Yeah,
we must
exactly,
accept, and that we should be ready to do a similar hard work in our for our own country.
exactly.
So that's
You're
what we
correct.
are saying, that we slowly we have to bring all sources of raw materials in our country, and so that our dependence on other countries, maybe it is China, maybe it is there are some other countries, our dependence on other countries should be reduced. So that's what you are saying. Sir, my last question would be: how much time would you give for steel and refractory industries to come back on track? Would you say that by end of this financial year they will be, will be completely out of COVID and again booming
I
in the same
I
fashion?
certainly think so, but the way this COVID thing has spread and also spreading till now, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But hopefully that maybe by September, October, something on the vaccine side will come up, and then we will come back to the situation. In India, I would say that supply side will be all ready. But
Mm.
yes, government has to create situation in which demand side is also created, so that there will be a parity with supply and demand, and that's how the things will move. So
Yeah.
you are very correct that my present assumption is that by the end of this financial year, that means by March, April 2021, we should be seeing that yes, again we have come back to our original form.
Okay, that's really great. And if we all work and if you all do the progress in the way we are doing now, I think it is very much possible.
And I think we'll have to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And Dr. Chattopadhyay, thanks very much for this
Thank,
conversation. And
thank you very much, and stay safe and stay well. Thank you.
I also wish the same for you. You are in Calcutta, so stay at home. And thank you very much for this conversation, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So here was Dr. Chattopadhyay. He was very optimistic that the steel industry and the refractory industry will come back on track by say end of this financial year. Second thing he told that we have to develop the sources of raw materials in our own country so that our dependence on the other countries like China will be reduced in the coming months. So that is possible. That is not possible overnight, but that is possible if you work hard and if you work hard for a number of months together. So that's how he was, he was very optimistic. And I think we should end this conversation here only. Thank you very much.